Some of these critics, these pundits.
Generally speaking, I'd be a fan of off the ball.
Exactly, and like Tommy knows his football, obviously I listen to football pod the odd time. And
when I was looking at the power rankings, and I thought that Jesus Owen must still be feeling the effects of these mushrooms.
They just dismiss you like you know you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
So, does Tommy know his football? How did you get on last week, Tommy, with your power rankings? Did anything happen at the weekend to maybe cause you to doubt the very fibre of your being?
Well, they caused discussion, lads. I'll put it to you that way. Couple of roars from Roscommon fans over the weekend. A couple of Mayo people asking me to, just relax a little bit. Like, what's the story? And then I think there was a Galway man who just wasn't happy. Just was not happy. He's like Bailey at the minute. He's giving out there for some reason. So yeah. What
were the Mayo people wanted you to relax, as in, take us off the pedestal, stop hyping us up?
And I'm not sure if they wanted to relax. I think they just thought maybe it was a little bit quick to put us into number 2. But so, look, everyone has different agendas when it comes to the power rankings. I think I am the only neutral person in this country.
Okay. Are we going to horse through the back to front?
Yes.
Last week we started with the first one, but we might go back to start with the first one next week. But this week, because of what happened, we have a new entry, and so we're going to start with that.
We are going to start with that, yeah. And I'm going to have to let the dog out, lads, because
I'll read through this page for you.
Do you go through the back page? Okay. New York have entered on 26.
Right. So 33 is London, 32 is Waterford, 31 is Carlow, 30 is Wexford, 29 is Tipperary, 29 is Tipperary, 28 is Longford. Yeah, that's what we have. Leitrim are down 2 to 27. New York. New entry, brand new entry. This feels like Top of the Pops in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Brand new entry, straight into number 26. It's New York.
And I'll tell you what.
With their Bronx rockin' beats.
If they had another game at home, lads, you'd be backing them to win. Like, they have got a quality outfit together over there in New York. They have kept the same team together. Really good game on Saturday night. That final score to equalise the game in the
76th.
The 7th minute of injury time. Cracker. That was the score. The dubs, the 6 in a row dubs that they've been proud of. They went down one wing, they kept the ball, 16 passes over 50 seconds. They switched the play. Owen Kerrin slips it into Shane Carty, who backtracked into 10 yards of space, and he curled it over the bar on his left. Quality stuff. We keep going.
Leisure up 1 after a big win for them after a tricky end of the league campaign. So they're on 25, and Jojo's just wondering, where's the New York in Ireland as we get first page gone. Second page, no changes here, right?
No changes in the second page, no.
Wicklow, good win at the weekend, but no change. 24, Sligo 23, Antrim 22. Would you have Wicklow ahead of Antrim at this stage?
We'll see what happens next weekend when Wicklow take on Clare in 2 weeks. We'll see what happens there.
Limerick 21, Offaly 20, Down 19, Fermanagh 18, Westmeath 17. I think you just didn't make any changes to these because you couldn't be dealing with the hassle from the so-called weaker counties.
That's not true. We have plenty of games to come over this month. There was nothing more changing so far.
All right. Meath 16, Cavan 15, Kildare 14, Cork are 13, still ahead of Kildare, Cavan and Meath, even though they're out of the championship now. I suppose because they're ahead of them.
Well, they're not out of the championship, Jerry.
Sorry, they're out of the Munster championship, and I suppose they are actually ahead of Kildare in the league table. So anyway, Cork down 2 at 13, Louth unchanged at 12, Clare up 2 to 11, even though they're not yet in Sam Maguire.
Tommy knows what side his bread's buttered here. Clare up 2,
Donegal 10 and Monaghan 9.
It was just a big win. I think it just corrected what we would have seen in the league campaign. A couple of results just didn't go Clare's way. Cork, I think Cork deserved to be 13th. Like, Mayo's game management the weekend was incredibly poor. Cork did some stuff that was really good and really poor as well throughout that game. Clare were fully deserved winners.
I think we need a correction here where, like, Westmeath are in Sam Maguire, and so they are at least 16.
I think it'll all correct itself, lads, over the next 3 weeks. There's still another 20-odd championship games to go this month. We have a lot of football to be played until 4 counties are knocked out altogether. So we can just relax a little bit here.
Okay.
It's a bit of shadow boxing. It's like the bloody league.
Clare
Davy
11th.
Burke said after the game, lads. Davy Burke said after the game that when he sat down with the Roscommon boys, Donny Smith said to him, Easter Sunday, we'll be ready. And I stood there thinking, what's been the point of the first 6 bloody power rankings if all they're thinking about is Easter Sunday?
Well, I suppose we had to see the evolution of a team that was capable of doing what they did, and backing it up.
Clearly, Roscommon were ready for the first 3 league games as well, so it wasn't just Easter Sunday they were prepping for. Who would you? So Westmeath are 17th. Who would you have below that are ahead of them? Who would you take out? Like, you can't have Cavan. Cavan are there in merit, I think. Meath above them in 16th.
Well, Cavan, I don't think. I think it's 50-50 about Cavan. Less than 50-50.
The Super League campaign, Division 3, albeit.
They're not guaranteed a place in Sam Maguire yet.
Like, are you just taking turns recycling through complaints that have been directed my way over the last 4 or 5 weeks?
But it's usually Cavan lads complaining.
I'm sure it's correct. Let's move on.
Okay.
So you had Monaghan at 9. Now we get into the first page. Armagh down a point, even though I thought they had like an effortless victory with some of their best players not playing. That's what I heard.
They had a good win.
Armagh are 8.
They had a good win against Antrim, who are 22nd in the power rankings.
All right.
So they did nothing wrong, but it was the fact that Mayo lost to Roscommon. The Roscommon bet the second team in the power rankings from 8th position.
Well,
they deserved it, and that wasn't to belittle where Roscommon are at. They were 3rd in the league, but now they've jumped up into 7th place.
So Armagh are 8, Roscommon are 7, Tyrone unchanged at 6, Derry still at 5, clinging on in there, Dublin are 4, Mayo are on 3, Galway are on 2, up 1, Mayo are down 1 to 3. Still the 3rd best team in the country according to Tommy Rooney. And Kerry,
they just won the league, lads.
Kerry are what does it matter?
No, but hold on. Mayo have won the league.
They have.
They've got to kick up the arse.
Okay.
The hype train has been deflated a little bit.
Yeah.
They now have 6 weeks. They might take a little bit of a break this week. 5 weeks to get themselves ready for whoever they face in the All-Ireland round.
Are they getting Lushy and Mullen back in that 5 weeks, Tommy? Are they getting? Is that what's going to happen here now?
No, but I will make one point, and I should have put it to Max Day after the game. Mayo didn't play Sam Callanan, who had started the league final for them. And I think Sam Callanan would have suited to start Sam Callanan in that game. He had under-20s championship this week. They didn't play Bob Toohey, and Roscommon completely bet them in midfield. I also think it would have suited that game to play Bob Toohey rather than a Tommy Conroy. It would have suited the style of game. Bring in Conroy the way he should have been coming in, which is with 15 minutes to go alongside Kieran O'Connor, because he's not ready yet. So this is going to give them time to get ready. But let's just not talk too much about Mayo this week. Let's just not talk too much about them.
I'm actually see the little red -1. Now you see it usually beside teams that have had a defeat. So it's beside Armagh. Does that make a laughing stock of the power rankings, generally speaking, when you have a team that wins a match and then goes down a place?
It makes a laughing stock of the Provincial Championship, Shane. That's what I'd say, because what do they matter at the minute? Do you know? Like, what do they really matter? Where's the jeopardy gone? The jeopardy was on Saturday night because history was on the line between New York and Leitrim. New York were chasing history. That's why that game mattered so much, and there was so much made about it. Like, what mattered then in Clare and Cork? Well, Clare need to win 2 games to stay in the Sam Maguire. They've beaten Cork. They now need to beat Limerick to stay in there. One of Limerick and Clare are going to be in the Sam Maguire. So the jeopardy is actually put on Meath, who are now in serious bother. Meath have to reach the Leinster final to play in the Sam Maguire. In Mayo and Roscommon, what was the jeopardy? Pride. Like, there was more jeopardy in the stands, I'd say, than there was in the pitch between the rival supporters.
So that is now confirmed after the results of the weekend. Do now need to reach the Leinster final to reach the Sam Maguire.
100% confirmed.
So they have to beat Louth, basically.
No, they have to beat Offaly.
And then
beat Longford. So Offaly are coming in fairly well cooked, got over the line against Longford. Longford took the lead with 10 minutes to go in that game. You talk about jeopardy, lads, and the Leinster final. Paddy Christie obviously went all out to win that game with Longford at the weekend. They're off on a 4-day training camp to Portugal this week, regardless of how that result went. So teams aren't really looking at the Provincial Championship as the end-all and be-all anymore. They are now looking at the All-Ireland round-robin series, and whenever they get there. And McStay said it after the game, and there's a little bit of him possibly managing the narrative when he said, look, we come into this game as 3rd seeds, the same as Roscommon, the same as Galway. We're all still 3rd seeds. So one of those teams, Galway and Roscommon, are going to be 3rd seeds in the All-Ireland round-robin series. One of them is going to be a 1st or 2nd seed, because only one of them can get to the Connacht final.
Yeah, and even then, I still think that ultimately they're going to be 2 of those teams who might be 3rd seeds. Both will end up at worst in the preliminary quarterfinal wildcard weekend. It's gonna take off.
A lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe Derry's performance in the league final was vanilla, and it was vanilla because they'd no McCaig, and as soon as there was a Conor Glass tweak of the hamstring, they were like, okay, off you come. And we don't see the real Derry until later in the season.
Fermanagh this weekend, which is not the easiest of games either, Tommy. Like, I mean,
absolutely not.
Derry should win that match, but Fermanagh are on a bit of a high as well.
Yeah, and interesting, Kirk, as well. The pitch in Fermanagh, they played all their away games in the league. They didn't play in Brewster Park. You know, the Brewster Park pitch has been redeveloped. So I think there's a bit of surprise that the game is set for Brewster Park this week. So maybe keep an eye on the playing surface between Derry and Fermanagh on Saturday. If it does get played there, it'll be the first game there. Derry should be fine, but Fermanagh had a brilliant league campaign. Cavan tied down Ulton Kellam. I think that's key. Cavan tied down Ulton Kellam in the league final quite well at Pádraig Faulkner. And you'd imagine Derry have enough man markers to quench the threats that Fermanagh have. But you never know. Tyrone found it difficult against Fermanagh last year. Took a brilliant goal from Conor Myler to kind of spark that game. So that's going to be a good game. Monaghan Tyrone as well. Shane, like, how are you feeling going into this game? On the football pod, the lads couldn't get away from it. They leant so heavily on Conor McManus and McCarron, and whether or not those two boys could get the job done. We're still talking about McManus at 35 years of age being that bit of gold dust that Monaghan need. He obviously did it in the last league game against Mayo. What's the word on Vinnie Corey's boys?
Look, I think that definitely the reliance on McManus in that last game was there for all to see, but you have players like Stevie O'Hanlon, who wasn't involved last year, took a year away, and back in this year. Micheál Bannigan has been given the vice captaincy, I think, this year as well, and stepped up really as a leader. Conor McCarthy back to his best a little bit as well. So I think they are pitching in with more and more scores. Obviously McManus is going to spearhead that, but that's going to be a fascinating game. And Monaghan tend to have a better record, nearly an Oma against
4 o'clock on Sunday, that game.
That's going to be a cracker.
Look, it's going to be a good game, but ultimately, as Tommy keeps pointing out, does it really matter?
Yeah.
I think Tyrone are too low. I said it last week. I think
too low. Okay.
Yeah, I think Tyrone should be ahead of Derry. I think
this weekend will change that.
Like, after what you watched throughout the spring.
Yeah, because Tyrone had a turnaround and got back to some sense of form and organisation and a re-emergence of an identity, and they're playing Division 1 teams. I saw Derry wipe the floor with Meath, and I thought, wow, this team is super impressive. And then I realised that Meath are paper thin, and so it's very difficult for me to read too much into that. And the first time I saw Derry, they played Dublin twice, and they played really well against them one day, and they played really badly against them the second time. So maybe
they played really well in the first half. They were right in that game
until the square ball goal.
Like, you know,
a bit flaky for them to collapse.
Collapse. They were missing Glass and McCaig. They're obviously thin on the ground in Derry, and we do think they have limitations. Like we've said that on the power rankings, we do think they have limitations to get beyond the last 4.
Tyrone's ceiling is higher than Derry's.
I'm not sure if that's the case. I really am not sure that's the case. And I'm going to get accused of some weird anti-Tyrone bias. I love Tyrone football. I'm their biggest fan. And like Paddy Andrews described Roscommon as the Atletico Madrid of Gaelic football of the weekend. Tyrone mightn't be happy with that themselves. Like, I genuinely think Tyrone don't have the depth they had when they won that All-Ireland in 2021. They don't have that X factor off the bench. I don't think they're there yet. I think they can get there because of the strength of Tyrone football.
Okay.
But I just don't see it at the miniature.
Let me put it to you like this. It's All-Ireland semi-final day, and it's Tyrone, Kerry, or it's Derry, Kerry. Who do you give the most chance of upsetting Kerry?
I don't know. I really don't. Like 5th or 6th, that's where I have them in the power rankings.
Derry flying high in the summer, you just never know. They get into their stride. So that 5, 6, 7 could change around. You've got Roscommon 7, Tyrone 6, Derry 5. Like, Derry and Tyrone both play this weekend. So depending on those results, Tommy, that could swing, and Roscommon could move up even.
I don't see it swinging too much yet. Like Jer's question there about the All-Ireland semi-finals. It's just so hard to know where these teams are at and where they're going to be in 6 weeks' time. Like, it really is.
We will obviously have a lot more information on how teams are going, and if it turns out the Canavans are both like scoring 2-3 a game each, by that stage you'd be like, oh, they've got plenty of X factor. They don't actually need anybody off the bench.
Sure. And I'll hold my hands up. And I will say, Jer, as well, you know, on social media or whatever, it can tell a lie. I felt last week that a lot of the reaction to your Dublin prediction on social media was, what's Jer on about here? What have the Dubs shown us? When I was out and about during the week last week, a lot of people agree with you. A lot of people think that Jerry Gilroy is right, and it was a very smart call, and that the Dubs should be in second place in the power rankings. I don't see it yet, but you know, they're not far off it.
A question for you both. Kildare play Wicklow Netwatch Cullen Park. That's the weekend after this. And Meath, as you said, Tommy, play awfully. And then those semi-finals, so it's going to be the winner of Kildare-Wicklow against the winner of Dublin-Laois, and then Meath or Offaly against Westmeath or Louth. Comment in from Shane, not myself, on YouTube. Will Tommy and Jerry get behind their team's Tailteann Cup games? So
Kildare are going to be safe, I think.
You should be safe, but hypothetically speaking, it's probably more pertinent for you, Tommy.
I think Kildare and bother if Meath get to the Leinster final, which is a big if. Like, there's a lot of ifs at the minute. Like, are you paying
a lot of ifs, a lot of buts?
Yeah, a bit of both. Are you going to the Tailteann Cup games with your?
A lot of what have yous?
My weekends are dictated. And I got a comment during the week that I was the most plastic Meath man on the internet. It was by Irish Catholic on TikTok.
Very good.
And I looked at the comment and I asked myself, is that because of my accent? Is that because I'm playing my club football down in Clare? Is it because my garden's in Cavan? Is it because I went to school in Monaghan? Is it because I was born in the States? Like, why would I be the most plastic Meath man? And it turned out it was because I don't go to Meath games at the weekend. Well, Irish Catholic, off the ball decide where I go at the weekend to games. So, you know, Shane, when I get behind Meath in the Tailteann Cup, I will watch every game. I followed the 20s game last night. I will follow them closely.
I think
I may not get to go to them unless Nathan Murphy gives me the nod.
Well, I was going to say, I think that if Meath are in the Tailteann Cup this year, we will absolutely do everything. I will move heaven and earth to make sure you're at that game to be able to report on it.
Thanks, Ger. And if they are in the Tailteann Cup, they deserve to be in the Tailteann Cup. And that is just the way it is. Like, there's a very young Meath team there at the minute. I think for Meath, I don't know. I don't think they want to be in the Tailteann Cup. They want to play in a round robin All Ireland series. But for some of the younger players, maybe that's okay. For Kildare and Clare, the profile of those teams, it wasn't going to be a good thing. So Clare have one more game against Limerick now. They've got to get that right. They lost in penalties last year.
Well, I was going to say,
you know I was there.
I'd say Limerick are absolutely delighted about the fact that Clare came through that game.
I'd say Limerick have been quietly just focusing on this ever since they respectfully asked Ray Dempsey to go.
So I think there's a good chance of an after the Lord Mayor show performance where Clare gets sucked into a dogfight and don't come through that side. And again, that would be a bit of a disaster for the championship because I don't think Limerick are ready for Sam Maguire competition just yet. You know, the opposite side of that is if you're in the Tailteann Cup, you deserve to be in it. Sometimes some teams are actually going to be in Sam Maguire who don't deserve to be in it because they haven't actually built. And so we'll see.
Well, just one last thing on that, because Michael Dorgan, who does the Long Haul podcast with Johnny Kennedy, he had a load of great interviews after the game. They're well worth checking out on YouTube. And he had an interview with Shane Carty of New York, 2-time Dublin All-Ireland winner. And Carty said he could see the complacency in the Leitrim players' eyes at the weekend. And I found that hard to believe because New York have brought Roscommon to a point, brought Leitrim to extra time, retained most of their squad last year that brought Sligo to 4 points. Everyone talked about the players that New York got over the line in the last 2 weeks. Bill Maher, Owen Cairns, the last 2 weeks before the deadline, the transfer deadline. Andy Moran was part of a London team, a Mayo team that nearly lost to London in James Horan's first year. The management can get teams ready to a certain extent. The Clare managers and the players lost to Limerick last year on penalties. So that complacency really cannot exist looking on from the outside. But if Shane Carty could smell it, if he could see it, if he could see it in the eyes, you can't take that for granted.
No,
you just can't.
I do still think the Dubs are way too low. I think Tyrone are too low, and I think I don't know. After that, I still think there's a good chance Mayo are in the All Ireland semi-final. I'm a bit less sure of that after the quality of the performance and their inability to adapt. But as you say, they have 4.5 weeks now of absolute hell for leather and training. You know, Cillian O'Connor gets more fit, Carr gets fit, and a few others who they had some doubts about get a bit of game time and a bit of this is exactly what we're trying to do. So and the under-20s, as you pointed out, are all going to be available for selection as well. So Tommy, one
lot of football. A lot of football to go. Just going to say, I've been there, Jared, in the perch that you're on, sitting there throwing little jabs and punches, and it's very easy. Like I've serious respect for what Owen Sheehan's gone through over the last couple of years. It's a big can to carry, these power rankings.
It's a weight in your shoulders, Tommy. You carry it well.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you have anything? Do you want to comment on the fact that you were threatening him and his family and forced him to flee the jurisdiction so you could take the seat? And now that you have it, you don't even want it.
I don't think Owen need much of a push to go to South America. So that wasn't.
That is. I'm sorry. Are we officially saying the power rankings are now a weekly thing?
Well, look, we've 2 championship games next week. There's going to be no change to the power rankings. I think it'd be a waste of time. There's 10 the following week. why not let it sit for a week and then you can come at me with all your digs and your jabs?
Well, if Monaghan beat Tyrone, they have to leapfrog Armagh.
I'll still talk to you next week.
Let the public decide. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay. Tommy will be back next week with the power rankings. Might not be. Wouldn't have been like this under Sheehan.
Football, obviously, listen to football pod the odd time.
And I was looking at the power rankings and I thought that Jesus Owen must still be feeling the effects of these mushrooms.